She's been harassed, continually just posting nasty things about her. Set up an account where she was actually soliciting sex. Sometimes she wouldn't sleep. She'd call me, Dad, I can't sleep. My phone keeps ringing.
The bogus pages would be taken down only to reemerge days later. Brandy had had enough.
We tried to persuade her to put the gun down, but she was determined. She said she'd come too far to turn back. It's hard when your daughter tells you to turn around. You feel hopeless.
In the show 13 Reasons Why a young girl commits suicide after being bullied both online and in person. As you just saw in that news clip, it happens in real life too. Suicide rates have tripled for kids 10 to 14 years old. Joining us with what to look for and your responsibility as a parent when it comes to bullying, welcome the Executive Director of Crime Stoppers, Rania Mankarius, and licensed therapist, Jill Ahrens Tucker. Good morning. Good morning. That is so hard to watch because you keep thinking, if I could go back in time and shut something down.
Yeah.
But when you have online bullying, cyberbullying, it's like the front door is open for anybody to come in.
Anybody. And you know, I met with Raul Vela, Brandy's dad, and he said, you know, we did everything right. We closed the social media accounts. We canceled her phone. We did everything we could possibly do. We were on top of it. But cyberbullies find another way and another way and another way. And the really important thing is they feel like they're protected. They use untraceable apps. They think they're so savvy. But we are going to find you.
Yeah.
The same technology that's used to hide you is going to be used to unmask you,
right,
and you will be discovered.
All right, there are dozens of apps. So you have Snapchat, GroupMe, Instagram, you can all kinds of things.
It never ends.
Yeah, and when we say cyberbullying, mentally it's a different thing, isn't it?
It is. It's a little bit different than bullying in person because it's there for everyone to see.
Yeah, because when you bully in person, I'll tell my son, what's their name?
Yeah. Mom's coming.
Where do they live?
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, and the thing is that I think when you would go to school the next day, you're walking around thinking, who is the person?
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't know. Anonymity can also produce paranoia.
And think of these kids, they live their lives online. I mean, they literally live their lives online. And when you're being cyberbullied and these attacks are coming to you through all your social media platforms, through text messages, through videos, through everything, you feel like you're drowning in it.
Yeah,
and there's no escaping.
And the range of emotions, you can be at a very happy moment and all of a sudden, ping,
yeah,
right,
there it comes. And that messes with your emotions as well.
It's horrible. It's horrible for these children, and we have to be aggressive. We have to do everything we possibly can to know the signs and rescue our kids and other kids too.
Everything online was like Brave New World for a while.
Yeah.
And we had to figure out how we were going to deal with certain situations. Like you said, the same things that were used to create these things, now we have back doors where we can find people. There are legal options that can happen now. Before we didn't really know how to deal with this.
This is an area where the law was playing catch up to what was happening with technology. And technology was ahead. But now, listen, the law is there. And anyone today who's listening to this and feels like they have the right to cyberbully and they're going to get away with it, I challenge you to think about the parents that lost a child. Think of law enforcement working this case. Think of the community that has had enough, and know that we are going to invest every effort, every technology. You can go to prison for cyberbullying, for online impersonation, for harassment, for disruptive behaviors, for defamation, and there is a community of people that will make sure you are discovered and that you are prosecuted for what you do.
Yeah. You certainly know that there are adults who commit suicide as well, who struggle with this as well. But when you're a teen, things are a little different. The brain's still developing. How we incorporate things still developing.
Right. So the adolescent brain is developing, they think, up till 25, maybe even closer to 30. And so things like empathy are still in development. So the cyberbully is having trouble having empathy for whoever they're acting out towards.
Yeah, they live for the moment.
Right, and things like emotion regulation, thinking about long-term consequences. Those are skills that are still developing through adolescence.
Yeah.
So putting these handheld computers basically in a 12-year-old's hands or whatever age, while that brain development is still happening, there's a lot of risk involved.
Yeah. The other thing, I think we're in a society where we're reward-based right away for everything. If things don't go our way, we want to shut it down.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to deal with emotions anymore.
Yeah.
You know, parents used to say you got to deal with it, and you did, but it's a little bit different today, I think. And so when you can't deal with emotions, sometimes the answer you think is to check out, just anything at that moment to get rid of the feeling. The problem is that that's a permanent solution.
Yeah,
Right.
And shows, so this was the big uproar about this series, specifically 13 Reasons Why, and you had psychologists and psychiatrists across the country saying, don't let your kids watch it. And the conversation really shifted to, you can let your kids watch
Watch it with them.
but watch it with them, because a young mind, like you're saying, a young undeveloped mind might see this as, wow, she made the right choice.
Right.
And look, we're all talking about her.
Yeah.
So while she kind of failed at everything, stumbled at every place, seemed to always make the wrong choices and be overlooked, now the entire world is looking at her as making the right choice. Not making the right choice, but we're talking about, she's getting attention. We've got to stop and tell kids suicide is never, ever, ever, ever an option. And I don't, and my little kids, and my oldest is 9, my youngest is 6, I tell them till right now, I don't care what is ever said about you, on the playground, at school, online, they know about all the social media. I said, you don't ever believe the lies. None of this defines you.
And dealing with her, let me just tell you, she's a lawyer, and she's also has a master's in family counseling.
Yeah.
Okay, don't mess with her.
I don't know about, but I'm really, it's like, you know, we have to take hold of the future of our children and of ourselves, and be invested in our emotional
And also the
health.
responsibility of what's in our hand, like you said, the computer in our hand. So I remember I was one of those parents who said, my son will not have a smartphone.
I know,
Are you kidding me? And then I was like, but then he can get in touch with me after school. The whole bit.
And he has it.
Yeah, and he
So
has
there
it.
is a convenience factor, but with that I think comes responsibility. And a parent, because their child's brain is still developing, has every right to have rules and regulations and expectations around technology use.
And some of those expectations, like my son said, this is private. No, nothing
No.
you do when I'm
Private.
paying the bill is private,
No,
okay?
right.
Including living in my house.
Yes, private, no.
Yeah, so parents, it's your job to monitor.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And look at those conversations, because I think almost every child that's bullied, oftentimes the parent had no clue.
No clue.
And the child didn't want to tell them, right? And so you know, look at those conversations, see what's happening.
You know, and understand the technology, because kids today know that you want to see everything, so they're hidden apps. They're developers that have created ways for kids to circumvent. So know the technology. I talked to one parent that said, I checked my son's phone. He's amazing. Actually, he has a few calculators on his phone. But other than that, and I was like, that's a good indicator, because listen, those calculators, while they may function, if you put in a 4-digit code, they also unlock a world where he's hiding information from you. So just, it's not enough to just look, but also understand the technology and how they can hide things from you.
I want to wrap up with, what age do we start talking to our children about this? And there's something you say, have someone for your child to talk to that may not be you.
And it may not be you. So teenagers are supposed to individuate and separate from their parents. It's part of their job as a teenager, so they can
it's part
launch
of
out
being
into the
human.
world, right? And so trying to have open lines of communication as a parent with your kids is great. And if they aren't talking to you, make sure they have someone they can talk to that will notify you if anything alarming is happening. A therapist, a counselor, a trusted adult in their life.
What age do we have this conversation?
Oh, before you put the device in their hand.
So in utero, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
100%, yes.
Ladies, thank you very much. Coming up, our next two guests both attempted suicide, and one had a child who eventually took his own life. They're on a mission to educate and help others to get through what can be a lifelong battle.